Chapter 24. The Advocate. As Queequeg and I are now fairly embarked in this business of whaling, and as this business of whaling has somehow come to be regarded among landsmen as a rather unpoetical and disreputable pursuit, therefore I am all anxiety to convince ye landsmen, of the injustice hereby done to us by hunters of whales. In the first place, it may be deemed a most superfluous to establish the fact that among people at large the business of whaling is not accounted on a level with what are called the liberal professions. If a stranger were introduced into any miscellaneous metropolitan society, it would but slightly advance the general opinion of his merits, were he presented to the company as a harpooner, say, if, in emulation of naval officers, he should be initials SWF, sperm whale fishery, to his visiting card. Such a procedure would indeed be preeminently deemed preeminently presuming and ridiculous. Doubtless, one leading reason why the world declines honoring us whalemen is this. They think that, at best, our vocation amounts to the butchering sort of business, and that, when actively engaged therein, we are surrounded by all manner of defilements. Butchers we are, that is true, but butchers also, and butchers of the bloodiest badge, have been all martial commanders, whom the world invariably delights to honor. And as for the matter of the alleged uncleanliness of our business, you shall soon be initiated into certain facts hitherto pretty generally unknown, and which, upon the whole, will triumphantly plant the sperm whale ship at least among the cleanest things of this tidy earth. But, even granting the charge in question to be true, what disorderly, slippery decks of a whale ship compared to the unspeakable carrion of those battlefields, from which so many soldiers return to drink in all the ladies' plaudits? And if the idea of peril so much enhances the popular conceit of the soldier's profession, let me assure you that many a veteran who has freely marched up to a battery would quickly recoil at the appellation of the sperm whale's vast tail, fanning into eddies the air over his head. For what are the comprehensible terrors of a man compared to the interlinked terrors and wonders of God? But though the world scouts us as whale hunters, yet it does unwittingly pay us the profoundest homage, yea, and all abounding adoration. For almost all the tapers, lamps, and candles that burn round the globe burn, as before, so many shrines to our glory. But look at this matter with other lights. Weigh it in all sorts of scales, and see what we whalemen are and have been. Why did the Dutch in De Witt's time have admirals of their whaling fleets? Why did Louis XVI of France, at his own personal expense, fit out whaling ships from Dunkirk, and politely invite to that town some score or two of families from our own island of Nantucket? Why did Britain, between the years 1750 and 1788, pay to her whalemen in bounties upwards of £1,000,000? And lastly, how comes that we whalemen of America now outnumber all the rest of the banded whalemen of the world, sail a navy of upwards of 700 vessels, manned by 18,000 men, yearly consuming $4 million, the ship's worth at the time of sailing $20 million, and every year importing into our harbors a well-reaped harvest of $7 million? How comes all this, if there not be something puissant in whaling? But this is not the half. Look again. I freely assert that the cosmopolite philosopher cannot, for his life, point out one single peaceful influence, which, within the last 60 years, has operated more potentially upon the whole broad world, taken in one aggregate, than the high and mighty business of whaling. One way and another, it has begotten events so remarkable in themselves, and so continuously momentous in their sequential issues, that whaling may well be regarded as that Egyptian mother, who bore offspring themselves pregnant from her womb. It would be a hopeless, endless task to catalogue all these things. Let a handful suffice. For many years past, the whale ship has been the pioneer in ferreting out the remotest and least known parts of the earth. She has explored seas and archipelagos which had no chart, where no Cook or Vancouver had ever sailed. If American and European men of war now peacefully ride in once savage harbors, let them fire salutes to the honor and glory of the whale ship, which originally showed them the way, and first interpreted between them and the savages. They may celebrate as they will the heroes of the exploring expeditions, your Cooks, your Kraus Stearns, But I say that the scores of anonymous captains have sailed out of Nantucket that were as great and greater than your Cook and your Croinstern. For in their succorless empty-handedness, they, in the heathenish sharked waters and by the beaches of unrecorded javelin islands, battled with virgin wonders and terrors that Cook with all his marines and muskets would not willingly have dared. All that has made such a flourish in the old South Sea voyages. These things were but the lifetime commonplaces of our heroic Nantucketers. Often adventures which Vancouver dedicates 3 chapters to, these men accounted unworthy of being set down in the ship's common log. Ah, the world, oh, the world. Until the whale fishery grounded Cape Horn, no commerce but colonial, scarcely any intercourse but colonial, was carried on between Europe and the long line of opulent Spanish provinces on the Pacific coast. It was a whaleman who first broke through the perilous policy of the Spanish crown, touching these colonies, and, if space permitted, it might be distinctly shown how these whalemen at last eventuated the liberation of Peru, Chile, Bolivia from the yoke of old Spain, and the establishment of the eternal democracy in those parts. That great America on the other side of the sphere, Australia, was given to the enlightened world by whalemen. Its first blunder-born discovery by a Dutchman, all other ships long shunned these shores as pestiferously barbarous. But the whale ship touched there. The whale ship is the true mother that it now mighty colony. Moreover, in the infancy of the first Australian settlements, the immigrants were several times saved from starvation by the benevolent biscuit of the whale ship, luckily dropping an anchor in their waters. The uncounted isles of all Polynesia confess the same truth, and do commercial homage to the whale ship, that cleared the way for the missionary and the merchant, and in many cases carried the primitive missionaries to their first destinations. If that double-bolted land Japan is ever to become hospitable, it is the whale ship alone to whom the credit will be due, for already she is on the threshold. But if in the face of all of this you still declare that whaling has no aesthetically noble associations connected with it, then I'm ready to shiver 50 lances with you there and unhorse you with a split helmet every time. The whale has no famous author, and whaling no famous chronicler, you will say. The whale no famous author, and whaling no famous chronicler? Who wrote the first account of our Leviathan? Who but the mighty Job? And who composed the first narrative of a whaling voyage? Who but no less a prince than Alfred the Great, who with his own pen took down the words from Other, the Norwegian whale hunter of those times, and who pronounced our glowing eulogy in Parliament? Who but Edmund Burke? True enough, but then the whalemen themselves are poor devils. They have no good blood in their veins. No good blood in their veins? They have something better than royal blood there. The grandmother of Benjamin Franklin was Mary Morrill, afterwards by marriage Mary Folger, one of the old settlers of Nantucket, and the ancestress to a long line of Folgers and harpooners, all kith and kin to the noble Benjamin, this day darting the barbed iron from one side of the world to the other. Good again, but then all confess that somehow whaling is not respectable. Whaling not respectable? Whaling is imperial. By old English statutory law, the whale is declared a royal fish. Oh, that's only nominal. The whale himself has never figured in any grand, imposing way. The whale never figured in any grand, imposing way? And one of the mighty triumphs given to a Roman general upon his entering the world's capital, the bones of a whale, brought all the way from the Syrian coast, were the most conspicuous object in this symboled procession. See subsequent chapters for something more on this head. Grant it, then. Grant it, since you cite it. But say what you will, there is no real dignity in whaling. No dignity in whaling? The dignity of our calling the very heavens attest. Cetus is a constellation in the south, no more. Drive down your hat to the presence of the Tsar and take it off to the Queequeg. No more. I know a man that, in his lifetime, has taken 350 whales. I account that man more honorable than the great captain of antiquity, who boasted of taking as many walled towns. And as for me, if by any possibility there shall be any yet undiscovered prime thing in me, if I shall ever deserve any real repute in that small but high-hushed world, and which I might not be unreasonably ambitious of, If hereafter I shall do anything that, upon the whole, a man might rather have done than to have left undone, if at my death my executors, or more properly my creditors, find any precious MSS in my desk, then I here prospectively ascribe all the honor and glory to whaling, for whaleship was my Yale College and my Harvard. This is the end of chapter 24. Now, here you have Ishmael ranting that a lot of people don't see whaling as something noble. And now, because whales are so endangered, it really isn't. But then, as I said, whale oil was the real way that people had to light things before the development of kerosene. And this was just before the beginning of kerosene and fossil fuels. And so this was the easiest way, the cheapest way that they had to light the houses. This was probably one of the safer ways to light the houses. I mean, it was a nice clean oil, it burned well, and it was available. So Ishmael is like, look, this is a great thing that we're doing, but you're giving us no respect. And he's like, this is all the reason that we've earned respect. You know, these famous people in history have respected us. There's an old saying that says that a society that accepts a poor philosopher because philosophy is a noble profession, and rejects an excellent plumber because plumbing is a lowly profession, will have neither good philosophy nor plumbing, and will deserve it. So Ishmael's point here is, look at all the things that we do for you. This is what we give you. And you don't like the way the sausage is made. That's another great saying. It's don't look too close at how the sausage is made, because sausage is made from little bits of meat that are ground up and put together, and it tastes really awesome. But if you think about, well, it's just all the leftover scraps getting made into the sausage, not so much. Ishmael's point is like, look, you complain about the way the sausage is made, but you like the sausage. So, you know, we give you light. We give you light. We work hard. We work hard. We provide a lot of money, and, you know, this is a great industry. This is something that makes you prosperous. And, you know, you're poo-pooing it. So this is he's very much the, hey, look, you know, don't think this is plumbing. You know, you think this is just plumbing, but it's important. And so that's something that Ishmael is trying to get across in this chapter, or the author is trying to get across in this chapter. Herman Melville is trying to get across in this chapter, because Ishmael is the voice of the author. A lot of times in writing, you have a character whose entire purpose is to tell you what the author is thinking. And this is a perfect example of that, because well, as I said, Ishmael is giving this big rant here, and pretty much it's told from the first person, and this is really kind of what Melville thought, is near as I can tell, is everything I've heard is that he wasn't saying, oh, this is the wrong thing. You see Shakespeare do it occasionally, like in Romeo and Juliet, Mercutio is very much the voice of the author, where, you know, you have Romeo who's like, oh, I'm in love, and Juliet, oh, I'm in love, and Mercutio is like, you guys are gonna kill me, and then they do, and then, you know, it's like, anyway, so you have the person who's the voice of the author, and, you know, Ishmael really is the voice of the author. And in this chapter, exactly 0 happens. So, you know, this is one of those things. It's like 3 pages on the eye of the whale, but this is 10 pages, 11 pages on 12 pages, actually. 12 pages on why whaling is important and why whaling is a noble profession. So that's chapter 24.